We want our land back. It is our land. I just wish it wasn't how it is today with all the violence.
Tonight, a community divided. Some Six Nations members reflect on camps in Caledonia.
We need to keep our people employed here in Saskatchewan.
We meet the new NDP MLA in Saskatoon Centre.
They need help, they need money.
Fundraising concert for an Edmonton homeless camp. Good evening, welcome to APTN National News. I'm Melissa Ridgen. A violent RCMP arrest near Williams Lake, BC, captured on video has people on social media questioning officers' use of force. While a statement from RCMP Chief Superintendent Warren Brown says an internal review is underway. The video shows an officer kicking and punching a suspect. But the RCMP says the video lacks context and involved a dangerous car chase with a suspect they believe to be armed, who then fled on foot, failing to comply with the pursuing officer. A second officer had utilized strikes to gain control of the suspect, says the RCMP, and police say that the driver had 7 outstanding warrants and remains in custody. Meanwhile, RCMP in Iqaluit today ruled out their plan to begin having some of their officers wear body cameras at work. Starting in November, 2 officers a shift will be wearing body cameras that will double again in December and once again in the new year. They won't be recording all of the time, and individual officers will be able to turn off the cameras themselves. RCMP say that they chose Iqaluit for the pilot project because it's an Indigenous community.
Because the RCMP, obviously, across the country, we're in a lot of Indigenous communities, we're in a lot of isolated, smaller communities. So everything from the technology piece to the receptive feedback around how these communities feel with respect to the police wearing body-worn video.
It's been a week since the 1492 land back lane standoff reignited in Caledonia. Over the past few days, we've heard the views of the land back defenders. Today, we get a glimpse of how community members feel. Here's Annette Francis in Six Nations.
Gary Foreman and his partner have set up a small business for themselves near the village of Ohsweken in Six Nations. Between this and another job, the Mohawk man has a busy routine that keeps him away from the nearby landback camps. He may not be there physically, but he fully supports the camp's actions.
I just knew that was going to happen, where the judge was going to rule against us, because, you know, that there's no way we can win in court anyways, because, you know, and so our people just got sick of it so they finally starting to do something, but it's waking up everybody to what's going on, so that hopefully that the federal government will sit down with our people and start negotiating.
The group has been occupying the Mackenzie Meadows development site since July. They're calling for negotiations to get the land back. Last week, after a clash with police, they dug in, overturned a bus, and blocked the main roadway in Caledonia. Taya Miller says it's heartbreaking to see what's happening.
We want our land back. It is our land. I just wish it wasn't how it is today with all the violence. It should be more of a peaceful protest.
Colin Martin is the police liaison for the Haudenosaunee Confederacy Chiefs Council. He says there is division in the community.
Yeah, there's some things that have been questioned by our own community, and that's fine and dandy. But again, it's about getting out there and showing that support and being behind your people who are taking a stand and putting their lives at risk in terms of being jailed and fined and on our own territory.
According to Martin, it's going to take education, unity, and a willingness to listen to resolve the long-standing dispute. Annette Francis, APTN National News, Six Nations, Mohawk Territory.
Thanks for that, Annette. The long-standing conflict between the town of Oka and Kanesatake Mohawk Territory has taken a new twist, this time with Oka trying to claim the Pines, that's the site of the 1990 crisis, as its heritage site. Here's Lindsay Richardson with more.
These pines are sacred to Gunazadage. Oral history says they were planted by the Mohawks hundreds of years ago. But in the eyes of the neighboring municipality of Oka, the pines are on their land. It's an issue that predates even the so-called Oka crisis of 1990, which is why the recent consults have a sinister overtone.
It's absolutely mind-boggling how he thinks he's going to get away with this.
Just weeks ago, Oka announced their intent to make the pines a provincial heritage site. After a significant uproar from Gunazadage and a letter to the Quebec Premier, the dispute was temporarily stayed.
On s'entend que les gens de Kanesatake font partie du territoire d'Oka. Donc Kanesatake fait partie du territoire d'Oka.
But last week, Oka Mayor Pascal Quevillon began holding public consultations. They're now proposing a bylaw designating the pines a municipal heritage site under Quebec's Cultural and Heritage Act, a process that does not require consultation with or explicit consent from First Nations. Mohawk Council says Quevillon's strategy is, quote, a disguise to dispossess the Mohawks of their land governance.
It's all race-based. He once said that if the Mohawks repatriate these lands, Oka will be enclaved by the Mohawks. Well, you don't seem to have a problem when we're the ones surrounded.
The lot in question is privately owned. For the last year and a half, developer Grégoire Golin has been working with Gunazadage in hopes of repatriating it. But Oka says they're acting in good faith to preserve the pines, and that Golin is on board with the plan.
M. Golin ne s'est pas opposé, ne s'opposera pas non plus là, à ce changement.
Council says otherwise.
He wants to build a wall, while Mr. Golin wants to build bridges.
We reached out to Quevillon for details on the plan. He did not respond before deadline. Meanwhile, Simon threatens to take it to the courts.
We could all work in the context of Aboriginal title so that we can live together in peace, and maybe some mutual development can be seen out of that. And the mayor, well, he has other plans. The economy's mine, the resources are mine, and you can't have it. Well, I got news for him.
Mohawk Council will be filing a legal brief on the Pines dispute in the coming weeks. Lindsay Richardson, APTN National News, Gunazadage, Mohawk Territory.
To Nova Scotia now, where Mi'kmaq leadership is divided over moderate livelihood fishery management plans. Discussion with the Department of Fisheries and Oceans have failed, and the fisheries lead of the Assembly of Nova Scotia Mi'kmaq Chiefs has resigned. Chief Terry Paul of Member 2 First Nation has withdrawn from the Assembly of Nova Scotia Mi'kmaq Chiefs, as well as the Mi'kmaq Rights Initiative, who negotiate implementing treaty rights for the Mi'kmaq. Paul said that he's lost confidence and trust in both organizations. Paul held the fishery portfolio for years and negotiated with the Department of Fisheries and Oceans to implement a moderate livelihood plan. Paul is now working with Shabaganagadee First Nation and others to implement that moderate livelihood fishery, including his own community, Member 2 First Nation. Meanwhile, Shabaganagadee Chief Mike Sack is now among those calling for the replacement of RCMP Commissioner Brenda Leckie. In an upcoming episode of Face to Face, was thinking when she said the RCMP was doing a good job handling the violence against Mi'kmaq fishers who were assaulted, threatened, and had their property destroyed, and he believes she should be replaced.
Early on, I wasn't sure how I thought about it, but I had been saying if the higher ups are the ones that take care of that, you ask anyone in my community or any First Nations here, if the shoe was on the other foot, there would have been a lot of police officers in the area. And there's nothing anyone could say that would make us feel different about that. So I think if that's the one who dropped the ball, the commissioner, then definitely they should be replaced.
You'll want to watch that whole interview with Chief Sack on the next episode of Face to Face with Dennis Ward. That's next Tuesday, November 3rd. Well, we want to hear what you think about the RCMP Commissioner's take on how police are handling the attacks on Mi'kmaq over their fishing rights. Here's how you can let us know. Send your thoughts in an email to APTN or to news@aptn.ca, or you can leave a comment on aptnnews.ca. You can also follow APTN News on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, where you can share your comments. We need to take a break, but when we come back, a look at what the Saskatchewan election results mean for Indigenous people there.
Tonight, I would give you my word that we will be a government for all of the people. Whether you supported the Saskatchewan Party or whether your support lied with a different party, we will govern for all.
Welcome back. Saskatchewan Party leader Scott Moe was re-elected as Premier in Monday night's election as the party secured its fourth Conservative majority. But one Indigenous candidate for the NDP won her seat as well. APTN's Priscilla Wolfe spoke to Betty Nippy Albright about her thoughts on working with a majority Sask Party government.
Tonight I would give you my word that we will be a government for all of the people. Whether you supported the Saskatchewan Party or whether your support lied with a different party. We will govern for all. And we will work to build a strong Saskatchewan for all of us.
Those are the promises of Premier Scott Moe after his Saskatchewan Party swept the provincial election with close to 40 seats. But there was some good news for the NDP, who just got 11 seats. NDP candidate Betty Nippy Albright won the riding of Saskatoon Centre. Nippy Albright, who is Cree Soto from the Kiniston Soto Nation, says she's open to working with the majority government. She worked for the health region in the past and says she learned how to build relationships.
For myself, how I was able to do that and bring programming into the core area is developing relationships with people that make those decisions, because I wasn't a decision maker. However, I was able to, the strength I had was to build relationships and to build trust and be that bridge within the community. So I think those are skills that I bring to the table in working with a Sask Party majority, is that at the end of the day, we hope that we are both working for the people of Saskatchewan.
Some of the issues that Nippy Albright will be advocating for are mental health and addiction services.
Some of the issues that we face here in Saskatoon Centre are issues related to mental health. We have high suicide rates amongst Aboriginal people, Indigenous people. I go to funerals all the time. Those are issues that affect me at a personal level.
Nippy Albright also says it's important to give people in Saskatchewan employment opportunities.
An issue is employment. We need to keep our people employed here in Saskatchewan. Trades, they have to leave the province to find work. We need people employed here.
She is hopeful that after this election, all people in Saskatchewan have a chance to be heard and to work together.
I would use my strengths of building relationships to be able to building relationships, as well as bridging those relationships between mainstream and Indigenous people to work together for the people of Saskatchewan.
Priscilla Wolfe, APTN National News, Saskatoon.
More with Betty Nippy Albright, new LA for MLA for Saskatoon Centre. She will be on Nation to Nation tomorrow night, right after your APTN National News. To In Focus now, where today we turn the spotlight from Mi'kmaq lobster fishing for a moment to other traditional foods and harvesting rights under fire, albeit without the headline-grabbing violence that we've seen on the East Coast against Mi'kmaq. In BC, First Nations say salmon are at risk of extinction. Meanwhile, in Manitoba, Métis and First Nations harvesters are up in arms about how the province is changing rules.
I would say that the problem inside DFO is that the environment is one that is hell-bent on supporting of fish farms. Now, the Cohen Commission was in a response to a very, very low return of sockeye salmon to the Fraser. And here we are 8 years later, where we've had 2 successive runs that are even lower than what triggered the Cohen Commission examination. And we still have the department perpetuating support for fish farms, creating science that supports that, and moves completely away and absolutely abandon the precautionary principle in terms of their primary responsibility to the environments and wild fisheries.
It's cut and dry. I mean, what's going on is people are losing their trucks, they're losing their guns, they're being charged, we're being forced to fight through the court system, and that is really the only option we have here. And that's because back several decades ago, the NRTA was transferred jurisdiction without any consultation with First Nations or really any Indigenous body around who would control the land. And we're talking about millions of acres that's still owed today. Many outstanding disputes around who owns what. But in the meantime, we're going to have to deal with this basically bullying and intimidation out on the land. And that's what we're seeing take place. And so, many of us, that's our livelihood. And we don't have a whole lot of money to go and hire the best lawyers so that we can continue to fight these things. And that's it's just another example of where First Nations are being, trying to suppress our rights and suppress our ability to live out our livelihood and live out our cultural way of life.
Time for another break, but still ahead, an online concert fundraiser to help the homeless.
I'm sure some of that money could be redirected into helping the homeless community. Like, why not? They're also citizens. There are proofs that this has worked in other countries.
Welcome back. It's time now for our photo of the day. Here is Rocco the dog from Rama First Nation in Southern Ontario. Rocco is 12 years old and dresses up every Halloween, possibly with the help from his human, Deanna Simcoe. He sure looks great as Beetle Rock. Only a few more sleeps till Halloween Halloween is here, so send us your best spooky, creepy, cute, or fun photo. Email us at share@aptn.ca and maybe your photo will be our photo of the day. That Rocco threw me off a little bit there. Let's go now to the map and look at tomorrow's weather forecast. To the east coast, we got 4 in snow for Charlottetown, 5 in sunshine for Halifax. -1 in sunny for Happy Valley, Goose Bay. Kuujjuaq -3 in snow. Sept-Îles, sunshine, 0 degrees, 9 with a mix of sun and cloud in Montreal. 11 in rain for Toronto, 6 in snow for Sault Ste. Marie. Cap is casing snow in 2, 1 in snow for Sioux Lookout. 2 in snow for Winnipeg, Saskatoon, sunny skies. 3 in snow for Regina. -1, mix of sun and cloud for Buffalo Narrows. -10 and sunny for Stony Rapids. Pair of 2s for Peace River and Grand Prairie, sunny skies there. 6 in sunshine for Edmonton, 8 and sunny for Medicine Hat and Lethbridge. 13 in rain for Vancouver, 6 up in Quesnel and some cloudy skies. 7 in cloud for Prince Rupert, -2 Fort Nelson and sunny. minus 12 in sun and snow. Wati, minus 7 in sun. Minus 11 Fort McPherson and snow. Minus 14 up in Cambridge Bay. It looks like some snow there too. Iqaluit, minus 7 in snow. Pangertung, sunshine and minus 8. Iqaluit, minus 13 in sun. Hosting a concert during a global pandemic is no easy task, but an Edmonton music venue is trying to do just that, with the goal of raising money for a downtown homeless camp. Chris Stewart spoke with one of the artists taking part in the fundraiser.
More than 2,000 people are believed to be homeless in the city of Edmonton. Camp Pikiwiwin was created to help house some of those who do not have a home. The camp has become a small community unto itself, with roughly 170 people calling the camp home. It sprung up earlier this summer, but with the weather turning colder, the camp is in need of supplies for the winter. Local music venue, the Aviary, hosted a fundraiser for the camp Tuesday night. And Edmonton's The Spanish Flies were one of the bands who signed up to help.
They need help, they need money, to get stuff, to get ready for winter. So we were asked if we could play to collect some funds, and we immediately said yes.
Those in attendance could buy artwork by artist Mark Elliott Muzz and listen to local indie rock artists. New provincial rules mandate a maximum amount of 15 people for gatherings in the city, making fundraising tough.
So the idea to collect money is through people paying to get in, and also people, if they want to buy the art, they can go ahead with it. Probably some of the drinks of the night might go there, I know that it's going to be a little difficult right now with COVID or whatnot, but any help is always welcome.
Gamera says he supports Edmonton's Mayor Don Ibison's vision of having zero homeless in the city.
There's so much money being wasted all the time in inefficient things that I'm sure some of that money could be redirected into helping the homeless community. Like, why not? They're also citizens. There are proofs that this has worked in other countries. So why not take that example and, make it here?
Despite the size restrictions, organizers say they have raised over $700 for the camp. Another fundraiser is planned at the Aviary on November 3rd. Chris Stewart, APTN National News, Edmonton.
The Blood Tribe in southern Alberta has teamed up with a local puppeteer to develop a series of COVID-19 safety videos. The videos were all shot on Blood territory, the largest geographically in Canada. CTV's Aaron Mahoney introduces us to the Nuppets.
Special message from the Blood Tribe.
Listen to Granny is something many Indigenous kids have heard throughout their lives, but it's taken on a bit of a different meaning recently. It's the title of a new video produced by the Blood Tribe and Indigenous puppeteer Derek Starlight to teach First Nations youth how to be safe during the COVID-19 pandemic. The Blood Tribe's Communications and Community Engagement Department came up with the idea of how to get safety messages across in a different way during planning for back to school during the summer.
We were at that creative level. We were saying, okay, talk to kids, how can we do this? And then it was kind of, well, remember Sesame Street? And then it just kind of popped in, and it's like, yeah, the kids were kind of empowered, teaching other kids.
Communications Director Pam Blood said she immediately thought of Starlight, who's from the Tsuut'ina Nation. And once he heard about the project, Starlight said he was excited to get involved. The video shows the Nuppets, Starlight's native puppets, being taught by Granny how to wear a mask properly via sing-along. Feedback to the video has been positive so far.
Seeing ourselves on TV again, and and giving to kids as well. So the song is catchy, it sticks with you for a while. So yeah, overall it's been pretty positive.
This is the way we wear a mask, wear a mask, wear a mask.
The video's more lighthearted approach to spreading the safety message is another example of the success the Blood Tribe has had keeping COVID at bay, with no active cases for several weeks. And it also provides a means for residents and Starlight's talents to be seen in a different light.
Recently there have been some challenging times that our First Nations and Indigenous peoples have been experiencing in Canada, and taking kind of a narrative on our own take is really important. So having that presence on air in this kind of fashion, I think it's something that we need to continue to work towards.
Aaron Mahoney, CTV News on the Blood Reserve.
Well, that is your APTN News for the night. I'm Melissa Ridgen. Thanks for joining me, and you have a great rest of your evening.